What is up? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Back with some more Dead Space Remake, and I'm here to give my impressions after beating the game for the first time. Just to let you guys know, this is not the first time I've ever played Dead Space. I played the original when it first came out, and I also played it a couple years ago. So this is coming from the standpoint of someone who's played it and is familiar with the game. So I guess this is more for people who haven't played Dead Space, or if you have played the original one, you kind of know what to expect. Without further ado, let's get into the story of this game. You play as Isaac Clarke, and you're an engineer, and you're sent to receive a distress call from the Ishimura. But as you all know, you couldn't have a survival horror game without things going wrong, and you're thrown right into the thrust of it right from the beginning, as you're seamlessly attacked by these undead things called necromorphs. And by the way, I just love this opening because it really just sets the tone of, oh shit, stuff's about to get real. And right from the start, you're running for your lives, basically trying to dodge everything that comes after you. I just think it's a really effective opening just to set the pacing, the tone, and the mood of this ship. Because one thing I'll say right now, this ship is a character in its own right, and it has such an atmosphere, such intense moments, and just such scenery that it just always keeps you on edge. And that's the first thing I can really say about this game, is that the atmosphere and environment always keep you paranoid, looking over your shoulder, thinking what's going to happen and what's going to go wrong next. Obviously, you get weapons to fight back, and the first one you get is the plasma cutter. Just for argument's sake, the plasma cutter is my favorite weapon by far in this game. So if you see me constantly using that weapon only, I apologize. It's not like the other weapons aren't good. I just love the plasma cutter. Probably too much for my own good, but hey, can you really blame me? But with weapons, you obviously got to fight these necromorphs. And what I always like about the necromorphs is just the fact that they're not like normal enemies. Normally you think shoot the head, right? But no, it's the exact opposite. The limbs are their weak spot. Obviously shooting off the limbs give you a better chance in killing them. That's the part you do. And obviously sometimes you have to shoot off multiple limbs, but you never know with these guys. And also make sure you just stomp them, because you also can get good stuff. You also have a stasis mode, which can freeze them in place and give you more advantages, and it's always nice to mix match combat together. And you might have other things like explosive barrels or other stuff in the environment that could be used to help turn the tide, but you always want to be thinking. Cool part of this game is that you have these circuit breakers that basically you can you have to make a decision, like I have to have these doors open, but in order to get it, I have to give up something. And in this case, I'm going to give up the lights. And sometimes it could be either the lights or the oxygen. In this case, it's just the lights, but I can't give up the elevators because I do got to get back. And this obviously creates more, I guess, options for replayability. Or also, what do you fear more, lack of oxygen or lights? I just rather deal with the lights personally. But to me, I just don't want to be running out of oxygen. And as I said, with the lights, it obviously dims your visibility, but I guess that's the point of horror. And sometimes it works really effectively, as you might not be able to see them, and they're just jumping up on the ground trying to get you. So you always want to be prepared for anything. I think some of my favorite parts in this game is just when you hear them in the walls, and then they bust open the side or ceiling, you expect to unload on them, and nothing happens. They don't come out, and it just makes you further paranoid and on edge. As I said, you can never relax, but you don't know if it's a fake out or it's a real deal. You also have a store here, which you can buy items, sell items, even store items in your inventory. And the purchases can be ammunition or upgrades to your rig, which is your suit, as well as upgrades to other weapons, as you'll have a bunch of weapons and upgrades throughout the game, and also things that you can sell that can give you more money, like the semiconductors, as well as you can sell ammunition and health packs if you want, but as you can also store them if you don't have the capacity to do it as well. But yeah, let's upgrade that rig to the max, why don't we? You also find nodes throughout the game which are used to upgrade not only your suit but your weapons as well. And if you find a bench, you can apply these nodes to whether your suit or weapons. And here I'm just going to max out my suit because why not? Get all the abilities as you can upgrade your health, kinesis grab range, stasis zone, oxygen, stasis duration, kinesis throw damage, as well as stasis energy. But it also applies to weapons too, and not to mention if you find modifications to your weapons, you can get extra bonus effects, like maybe you increase your capacity size even more than it already is, or maybe it adds an extra effect like the pulse rifle and its grenade shot, which can explode on detonation, or you could put it in the ground and have them run into it. But you have multiple variety, not just in these nodes and upgrading, but also the weapons too, because all the weapons have an alternate firing mode, which I think is really cool. It's just unfortunately, as you can see here, I'm just too much of a plasma cutter fan, but that's not to knock the weapons. The other weapons are great and are excellent too. I just love that damn plasma cutter way too much for my own good, so you had to forgive me. But one of the biggest things of this game, as I said, is the unsettling environment, because you'll just find constant dead bodies after dead bodies, people who are just on the verge of dying, ripped in half, dismembered, bleeding out their torso, limbs, going crazy, just absolutely just something out of pure horror. And it just always sets the mood and tone for you, thinking, oh my god, what kind of crap am I going to experience next? You just never know. You don't know what you're going to see. You don't know what you're going to hear. It just puts that mood, and I think it really displays that really perfectly. I'll be the first one to admit, even though I'm not to knock the necromorphs, I think they're awesome, but I honestly probably get more disturbed just seeing just pure humans doing these crazy things, just seeing them lying on the floor dead or killing one another. It just kind of gives you that, oh crap, like what am I witnessing here? This is just absolute madness and insanity at its finest. But once again, it wouldn't be a good survival horror game if you didn't have moments like this, constantly putting you in dread and painful situations, just fearing what is going to be experienced next as you progress through the game. Another cool way you can fight back is you can actually pick up objects, and they limit to a lot of things from just spears like this, or you can pick up other things. Like basically, you can use the environment to your advantage, and you can harpoon these, but also you can also rip off their own limbs and use them against them. So it gives you so many variety and options in combat, and using them interchangeably gives you a great advantage. One of the new parts of this game that wasn't original is that there are side quests, and you'll find them through picking up audio logs or watching visuals or just stumbling upon rooms. And you don't have to do these things, but they do add a lot of more lore to the game, and they have multiple steps to them that as you unlock more areas in Ishimura, you'll figure out that you can't necessarily at this point get to a certain point, but as you go to different areas, you'll be able to further that side quest even more. Even some of them might even give you more good stuff, like give you the ultimate clearance card if you're able to find all the rigs, or just furthering what happened with Nicole on this ship in the first place. But what survival horror game wouldn't be complete without having a extensive enemy roll call? And trust me, there is a lot of different variations to these necromorphs, from these baby fetuses with just really, I mean, anytime you have any evil baby fetus, it's definitely going to be a thing you're going to have nightmares about. But just a variety of them. You'll have these guys here which can snipe you from a distance. They're small. Sometimes the problem is you can't find them, but you hear them constantly, and it really is tough when you have multiple enemies with these guys in the background constantly trying to snipe you with their tentacles, and just constantly leaves you always guessing, looking up, just overthinking stuff, but sets the mood perfectly. You also have these guys, these moths, which basically they can reanimate dead bodies and turn them into necromorphs to constantly come after you. So if you have a room full of dead bodies, you want to take care of these guys quickly, because they'll just constantly keep making more enemies and more enemies until you get rid of them personally. So they're always a priority no matter who else is in the room with you. But you always want to keep on edge and keep paying attention, because you never know. You don't want to drop your guard for a second, because you have so many things that just come after you. And I think that's one of the cool parts about this game is just because you went to a room one time, you caught the enemy, doesn't mean they're going to come back again, or they might change it up. You always want to be prepared for anything, because you never know when somebody's going to reach out and grab you. or come around the corner, or as soon as you open a door you have more enemies coming through. You always want to have anything at the hip ready to go. By the way, I hate these guys to death. They can burn for all I care. Not tough to deal with, but it's just frustrating. So always have that flamethrower on the hip. Yeah, did I mention always stay prepared? You just never know. No matter how many times you go through the same corridor, they will change it up on you real easily. So you always want to be prepared, because you never know what you're going to be jumping into. You'll have all sorts of enemy types all over the place, just ready to end you and having different ways to deal with them. I think the cool part is when you just go in a room and you just have like 3 or 4 different enemy types, and basically it's a madhouse. It's a run with your head chopped off mentality and just hope and pray sometimes, because these guys will body you if you aren't careful. You'll even have some enemies which at a given moment you're not able to defeat because they can just constantly regenerate, so you're constantly running from them. But on top of that, it's not just you're facing them, you're facing other enemies. Pretty much what I said earlier is that they will body you with non-stop bodies and varieties, so you're constantly on the move, you're constantly paranoid. And these enemies come in all shapes and sizes. It's not just small. You got massive, gigantic kaiju size creatures, so you definitely have an extensive variety of them. But one of the ones that I honestly have the most unsettling thing is this guy right here. He's this tall, lanky guy, and when you shoot him off, his body parts still come after you, whether they're head skulls with tentacles coming at him or a bunch of just vine-like things. That's why I said keep that flamethrower on the hip, because you just never know when these guys are going to come after you. Another enemy that also is unique is these ones that are actually infected soldiers that still have the stasis model on them, so they're going back and forth high speed, so they can definitely keep you on edge. If you're able to hit the stasis module, you can actually freeze them in place for a amount of time, so you can also use that to your advantage. But in my opinion, I think what this game really excels at is when you start encountering the Church of Unitology people that worship the marker, and that really sets the environment and the mood to really creepy levels. And I'll just tell you right now, when you see those lanterns and all those cult symbols, it just really puts you on edge, and this game does an extremely effective thing, because you'll start to hear whispering. They have this whispering you'll hear in the audio that makes you go, what is that? You'll start hallucinating. You'll start seeing things that aren't really there, or maybe they are there. You don't know. By the way, make sure you pick up marker fragments. But you'll just start seeing so many messed up things, and you just wonder, is Isaac going completely insane? This room, for my money, is a room that exemplifies that perfectly more than any other room in this whole ship. As soon as I walked in here, I just knew, oh crap, this is the definition of just unsettling and creepy. You got bodies and corpses on the ground, corpses hanging, writing in blood on the walls and floors, ancient alien inscriptions, these vine-like things, the constant lanterns, just the lighting. It is just absolute death and horror in this room, and for my money, this room is worth the price of admission. And in my honest opinion, this perfectly exemplifies what I think a survival horror game needs to have, and this is just absolutely some of the most effective stuff that keep you on edge and keep you absolutely paranoid and looking over your shoulder at all times. In my conclusion, if you never played the original Dead Space, I highly recommend playing this one. If you just need that survival horror game, this is definitely one of the better ones. I've always heard people call this the Resident Evil 4 in space, and if you know me, Resident Evil 4 is my all-time favorite game. But to me, I think it's just disrespectful to call this Resident Evil 4 in space, because it doesn't need to be compared to anything. It's its own thing, and it excels at it really fine, and it's a great survival horror game. And while this remake may not do too many drastic major things, I still think just going back and revisiting something like this is never a bad thing. And it does do a few different things. It adds a side quest. There's a few variations in how things are done. You also have more things you can do after you beat the game, like the New Game Plus mode, which I'm going to be doing more of, trying to get all the trophies. But I highly recommend this to anyone who hasn't played the original. And that is going to be it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back on the next one. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.